You send a proposal, the prospect disappears. Why in the world did this happen? Today, I'm going to lay it out for you and give you some ideas on what you can do to prevent this from ever happening again. Check it out. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist Podcast. I'm your host, Donald C. Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. And I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. On this episode today, you're listening, and we just had Thanksgiving, and we're getting ready to kick in the last month of the year, which is really like 2 weeks before we start in January. But one of the things that I find, especially this time of year, is that you're probably trying to close as much business as possible. You may be tempted to skip steps. And when you skip steps, you have holes in your pipeline. And I hope today that we can fix that. If this is your first time listening to our podcast, I encourage you to subscribe. I also encourage you to share it with somebody else, because this content not only benefits you, but I'm sure it can benefit others you know as well. And we want to continue to grow our reach and to help sellers across the world, especially when it comes towards earning the money they deserve. In this episode today, we're going to break down this idea of what typically happens when you don't follow the process or the prospect just ghosts you. I've had this. Let me give you a story. You meet with the client, the prospect, they are very interested and they express that they want to learn more. You did a disco and now you send them, they say, send us a proposal, send us some pricing. You send them the pricing and then crickets, nothing. What happens what happens after this? I mean, we had a pretty decent disco, it felt like. Where did they go? Oftentimes I find, and I talked about this on a previous episode, is that they're looking at other people, but you and me as a seller, we tend to not want to muddy the water, but we don't want to bring up the fact that we know that they are looking at other people, and that, my friend, could be a problem. Oftentimes, when it comes to ghosting, especially after sending a proposal, two things typically happen or doesn't happen. One, the prospect is not committed. Number two, the price is not aligned with what they're looking for. And this is an easy one that we often bypass, but let's go in and dive down into each of them. The first reason they're not committed. There's two different things. When a buyer is interested versus being committed. Interested might be, I am interested in learning more about a solution. Maybe I will implement this solution in 5 years or 2 years or 1 year. Maybe I saw an ad, but I'm interested in it because, yes, there is a problem that we know about. Committed to that problem, committed to fixing that problem is two different things. What tends to happen is that we hope when we get that person on a call and they're interested that we can commit them to work with us. But they may not be convinced that we could be the best person to do that for them. So they're not going to change. They may, again, they're interested, so they put a Band-Aid on it, but they're not committed, so they're not having the surgery that they need. Like, there's two different worlds with that. How do you figure out if buyer's interested versus committed? Oftentimes, you can figure out if they're just gathering information, if they have others that they want to get involved, if they have a timeline of fixing the solution. That's probably one of the biggest give that you can figure out. If they have the timeline, then that's important. Now, go back to one of the stats I shared on a couple episodes ago. Your buyers, just hear me out. If they are researching and if they are committed to this, there's like a 98% chance, about a 98% chance they're looking at other vendors. If you don't know who those vendors are, you're done. We need to figure out who those vendors are. We need to figure out what they're looking for, and we need to figure out when they're trying to get that solved. There we can figure out how we can establish value and why we are different than the others. But that's probably the number one reason. Number two is that the reason why the buyers may not meet with you or ghost you after you send the proposal is that we skipped talking about the budget. And I get it. It can get awkward. Oftentimes I talk to salespeople and we see the poll out there that salespeople just don't want to get, it just feels weird. But help me understand. Sales is where you're exchanging money for a product or a service. Why would that be awkward when that is the most important part of this whole process? You are here because you need to establish value, but also you need to sell something. You need to get money for the service or product that your company has. If you make it awkward, it is going to be awkward for the prospect. And what I like to do to make that not so awkward is I like, especially if I know they're doing research and they already confirmed that, if they're committed, they have a timeline when they're trying to solve it. I would like to establish this. And sometimes the buyers won't, if you ask for the old school way, hey, do you have a budget for this? The buyer's going to say, well, maybe. We haven't, they're just playing that dog and pony show. I don't like that. I like to be transparent. So I tell them, Jake, I want to be as transparent as possible. When people invest in a solution like this with us, when our clients invest in a solution, they typically have anywhere between a budget of $5,000 to $8,000 per month. Where do you fall in place? Is that within your range that you've been looking at? Because I'm sure you've been doing research already. You might say, DK, yeah, that's exactly in the range we're looking at. Perfect. This can help us. Now we have an idea. We've got it anchored at least that they're going to spend between 5 and 8. So maybe we can fall at a medium of 7, 7.5, or perhaps maybe they're going for the big shebang because they need a lot of stuff. So it's 8,000 that they're going to pay per month. We know what that is. They know what that is. Let's continue to establish value. Now, you cannot skip over this. You cannot skip over it, because here's what I find. I like to tell them right then and there, Jake, now I know you're looking at other people, I'm sure, right? And maybe you can figure out what some of the top vendors in the area, probably blankety blank, or what are some of the companies you're looking at, or what are other solutions you're looking at right now to fix this problem as well? Because I'm sure you're doing some research. They're going to tell you, you get an idea. Jake, here's what I'd like us to do. Let's set up a plan to do an apples to apples comparison after you get a chance to look at some of these other vendors. Is that fair? Can we do that next week? I mean, I know you like our solution. You've established that already, and I get that. And I know you're going to do some research. Some of the other vendors are out there. They're great in different aspects. Now, based on what you're looking for, this is what I truly recommend. That's going to be the best solution for you. I want to make sure you can get an apples to apples comparison when it's all said and done. You can look at us and the other ones. It's okay if we set up a time, 10, 15 minutes to do apples to apples comparisons. Great. All right. Now, I got that commitment from him, and that's important. I spoke about the budget. I understand that there's a time frame. I understand that they're, I anchored him, so to speak, between where he's spending and where he feels comfortable spending. So I know where the solution might fall in place. But I also am not being oblivious to the fact that he's also looking at other people. But I want to bring him back to the table to have a conversation with me after he looks at those other people. Again, studies have proven that if you're one of the first ones to look at, they're more than likely to do business with you because there's a reason why they like you. Now, here's another area that I find that typically leads to why your prospects may ghost you, is that you didn't get a clear idea of their decision process. Now, I'm not saying, I hate the one like, are you a decision maker? And we talked about that, but it's get an idea how they're making a decision. They're looking at other vendors, right? Are they making a decision based solely on price? Are they making a decision based on functionality? Or are they making a decision based on other elements that we may not necessarily know about? Maybe they have like a chart that they rate internally. Ask and find out. You will never know unless you ask. My philosophy is you want to go to ask as much as you can. Ask for more than you feel comfortable with. And typically what happens, you'll get they'll give you less, give you more than what you typically would have gotten. So if again, I want to say, would it be possible for us to be a part of that decision-making conversation? And I mean, that's probably extreme, where we can meet with you and your team and we can go through it together. And maybe he'll say no or yes, sure, that's great. Well, awesome. I wasn't expecting that it was going to get that far. At least I wanted to figure out what was that process. What are you going to look at? And the process, maybe they're going to look at blank, blank, and blank. Now, to be a part of that conversation with their team, that's a home run. Fantastic. I'll take that all day. And we could be a part of that and eliminate any discrepancies that they might look at as they're evaluating all of our vendors, all those 3 vendors. Now, again, asking for more than you feel comfortable with is, go that far. And you never know. The prospect will probably surprise you more time than you think. But learn the process. And that's going to help you. Now, the last thing that I like to share is that you want to establish with the prospect the plan for the future. Now, we stressed the idea of mutual action plans, and I think you all got that about how we love using them, and there are many different tools out there, but essentially you can use Excel. It's just an understanding of what the buyer's process is and what your process is, things they need to do and things that you need to do in order for this to be able to move forward. So now once I've met with the prospect, and one of the things that I always do is to have a proposal review. You don't want to send a proposal to the prospect, and it sounds so basic, but set it up. Say, all right, here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to take a few minutes to review the proposal with you and your team. This allows for you to be able to just, again, eliminate any ambiguity. Now, if you get a chance to review the proposal with you and their team, with all the vendors they're looking at, again, home run. But at least before I send a proposal, I don't want them to get lost in translation. So I'm going to go through the proposal with them and take 10 minutes, read through it, and so they can understand how the costs, how the investment, how everything is going to work, what's the upfront, and so forth. I have missed that mark. I've broken my rules, and when I've broken the rules, the deals don't work, because here's where I get uncomfortable. I'm like, I don't want to push it too much. Again, I don't want to miss this opportunity. I don't want to cause friction. But because I don't do that, I don't have any tension. We do cause friction, and I don't hear from them, and they're ghosted. They ghost me. But you got to ensure that you have an understanding. They have an understanding. So I tell them, let's do a proposal review, and once they get the proposal review, you move forward. Now, the other thing is, like, if this proposal falls in line, this is right within your time frame, this can solve the solution, and the investment is right. What would you have against moving forward within the next couple of weeks, so we can get everything implemented by January? It's not too bad to ask that question. But again, what I find, especially young new sellers, we may be afraid or intimidated, so we don't want to talk to them like that. But you are the consultant. You've solved this problem, or your company has before. So be open and be willing to have that type of dialogue. That openness, I'm telling you, it's going to prevent the ghosting. It also gets them, because you're on a mutual action plan. You have a time frame with them established, and you have commitments, dates, roadblocks or milestones, that you're going to be going towards. So test that out. Try it. You can go back and listen to this episode. You can check out the show notes and get the outline. But the key that I'm trying to tell you, to prevent the ghosting, you got to get the commitment from that buyer. Figure out if they're just interested or committed. You want to get the price range. Be giving them an anchor. Don't be as timid with that. Then you also want to figure out their time. When are they going to do this? How are they making the decision? Use a mutual action plan that you both can work with. And then also commit them. Once you've done this, you've established that the investment is good, it can solve your problem, that this is gonna that we can work within your time frame. Would you be committed to moving forward in the next couple of weeks, so that we can get everything established by this January 1? Perfect. Let's go forward and move forward with that. Listen, ghosting doesn't necessarily mean that you did anything wrong. Let's back that up. Ghosting doesn't mean that the prospect hates you. It means that the prospect got distracted. The prospect may not be committed, and the prospect feels awkward having those conversations. You want to be the person that ensure that those conversations happen. You want to make sure that you eliminate those awkwardness by having the adult conversation, and you want to make sure that they don't forget, they don't mistake other things in place of what they need to do. The apples to apples comparison at the end, after they've looked at all the other vendors and received proposals from them as well, is golden. I will do that with the right company, people who I feel comfortable talking to. You've built great rapport, so at least go for it and ask for that. I promise you, when you do apples to apples comparison with those clients, I'm telling you, it eliminates issues. The buyer sees you as a trusted vendor, and opportunities come. Some of them may not want to do that, but if you get the ones that are willing to do that, I'm telling you, money in the bank all day long. Listen, I want you to thrive. I want you to succeed. And in the new year, we're kicking off a new mastermind. Think about our mastermind as a place where you come and you practice. You get the holes poked into your deals, into your opportunities, into your prospecting, and get help. You get live practice, and you get workshop every single week. Everyone who actually comes and participate in our mastermind does the things that is outlined and actually participate and stay with the accountability, exceed their quota. I promise you, we've seen it time and time again. And if you would like to do that, I would love to have you join our mastermind. You can take advantage of some of our reduced offerings right now. It's ridiculously amazing. You can find more details by going to thesalesevangelist.com/mastermind, thesalesevangelist.com/mastermind. As always, I want you to thrive. I want you to succeed, but most importantly, I want you to raise your level of thinking. I want you to kill it in the new year, and I want you to go out and do big things. See you on the next one.